Hey guys, Rhett here. The example I have for you today is the sketch of a graph and its inverse. So here we're presented with the function f such that all real numbers not including 4 maps to r. F of x is equal to x plus 2 over x minus 4. I've just drawn over here to the right this quick little table for the domain and range of f of x and its inverse. So I've pre-populated this table with the domain, which I obtained from here, where the domain is all real numbers, not including 4. Okay, so the first thing I have to do is a quick long division to work out exactly what kind of graph this is. So I'll just do long divide. Okay, so I take x minus 4 and I divide that into x plus 2. X into x goes once, circle around, 1 times x is x, minus 4, draw a line, do the subtraction, x minus x is 0, 2 minus negative 4 gives me positive 6. Okay, so therefore the result of this long division is that f of x can be rewritten as the remainder, which is 6 over x minus 4 plus 1. This is essentially a rectangular hyperbola with an asymptote at x equals 4 and a horizontal asymptote at y equals 1. So then, in order to sketch this graph, I need to work out the y-intercept and the x-intercept. So for the y-intercept, I let x equal to 0. F of 0 is equal to 6 over negative 4 plus 1. So that's negative 3 over 2 plus 1, negative half. So I have a y-intercept at 0, negative half. And my x-intercept, I'll let y equal to 0. So that gives me negative 1 equals 6 over x minus 4. Okay. In one shot, I will multiply the x minus 4 across and divide the negative 1 underneath. So I get negative 4 is equal to, x minus 4 is equal to negative 6, which then gives me x equals negative 2. Negative 2 and 0. Okay, and as I previously mentioned, the y-intercept, the x-intercept, the asymptotes. At x equals 4, y equals 1. So that is everything I need to sketch the initial graph. Now, for the inverse. Essentially, I want to find the equation. I do this by swapping x and y. So I go back to my original and I say x equals 6 over y minus 4 plus 1. Now I'm going to solve this or rearrange this to get y on its own. So in one shot, I'm going to subtract the 1 onto this side and then reciprocate both sides or flip both sides. So y minus 4 over 6 is equal to 1 over x minus 1, so that y is equal to 6 over x minus 1 plus 4. So now I have my equation. Therefore, the inverse f minus 1 of x is equal to 6 over x minus 1 plus 4. Okay, now in terms of the key features for this graph, its asymptotes are x equals 1 and y equals 4, which, comparing it to the original up here, have swapped around. Likewise, the x and y intercepts are also going to swap around because x swapped with y. So the x-intercept, when I let y equal to 0 here, I'll let you check the math, but the x-intercept becomes negative a half 0. And the y-intercept, when I let x equal 0, becomes 0, negative 2. Now just coming back up to that table I wrote in the beginning for the domain and range. So the domain of f of x was all real numbers not including 4. The range for f of x is all real numbers not including 1. That's my asymptote. Now, for the inverse, the domain and range simply swap around. So the range of the initial becomes the domain of the inverse. The domain of the initial becomes the range of the inverse. So I'm left with the domain of the inverse, r not including 1, and the range of the inverse, r not including 4. So now you have all the pieces you need to sketch this graph. So I'll just turn over here to the graph of f of x here, shown in green, the rectangular hyperbola, and I'll show you the asymptote at x equals 4 and y equals 1. So there's the green one. Now I'm going to plot the line y equals x, so it's the dotted red line here, and I want you to imagine you essentially hold a mirror on either side of this red line. So what would you see in the mirror? So turn off these asymptotes for a moment. When I take this green graph and reflect it in the line y equals x, I get this blue graph, which is the inverse. And lo and behold, my asymptote at x equals 1 and y equals 4. Finally, I'll place the two graphs together. Thanks for watching, guys. Feel free to like and subscribe. And as always, good luck with methods.